This video is on finding missing measures of triangles. To find missing measures, we need to know that the sum of all three interior angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. If you add up all three angles of any triangle, you will get a sum of 180 degrees. Therefore, if you know two of them, you could make an equation to find the other one. Our equation would be this angle plus this angle plus this angle equals 180 degrees. You add up all three angles and set it equal to 180 degrees. So you would add 24 plus 119 to get 143. Subtract 143 from both sides, and you would get x equals 37. Your missing angle measure is 37. This is how it would look if you used an equation. Sometimes you have to use an equation when you have expressions in here. But since we don't have any expressions, we could just take our calculator and type 180 minus 119 minus 24 equals, and it would give us 37. Or we could add 119 plus 24 to get 143 and subtract that from 180. So for the examples here, they're going to use an equation to find the missing angle measure. So they added all three sides, x plus 118 plus 34 equals. It says, what do the three angles add up to? Well, we should know all three angles of a triangle always equal 180 degrees. Now, when we solve this equation, the first thing we do is combine like terms. 118 plus 34 equals 152. Then we subtract 152 from both sides, and 180 minus 152 equals 28. So the missing angle measure right here is 28 degrees. And again, you could take your calculator and say 180 minus 118 minus 34 equals. But sometimes we have to use equations, and we'll have to use it in this unit eventually. So please also know how to just add up all three sides, set them equal to 180, and solve the equation. For this one, it says find the value of x. So add up all three sides, set it equal to 180. Combine like terms, 90 plus 67 is 157. Subtract 157 from both sides. 180 minus 157 is 23. Now we have expressions. When you have expressions, you have to use an equation. You can't just subtract two numbers from 180 and get your answer anymore. You have to use an equation. So x plus x minus 6 plus x minus 27 is adding up all three angles. You still set it equal to 180. You still combine like terms. Now, I don't have any distributor outside of these parentheses. So there is no distributive property. There's no multiplication. The parentheses are really useless. You combine like terms. 1x plus 1x plus 1x is 3x right here. And negative 6 plus negative 27 is negative 33 here. Again, x plus x plus x is 3x. Negative 6 plus negative 27 is negative 33. 3x minus 33 equals 180. You would add 33 to both sides. Then you would divide both sides by 3, and you would find that x equals 71 degrees. So this angle measures 71 degrees. However, if it asked for this angle measure, it would be 71 minus 6, which would be 65 degrees here. And if you wanted this angle measure, it would be 71 minus 27 equals whatever that equals. The directions here are to find the value of x in each triangle, then classify each triangle by its angles and by its sides. So on number 1, if I wanted to do an equation, I would add up all three sides and set them equal to 180 because all triangles have a sum of 180 when you add their interior angles. To solve the equation, you would simplify the left side by combining like terms. Then you would get the variable by itself, isolate the variable by subtracting 135 from both sides. And the answer is 45 degrees. So if that is 45 degrees, 45, 61, and 74 are all acute angles. That makes it an acute triangle. And all three angles are different. That makes it a scalene triangle. So here's your answer, 45, acute scalene. We found the missing angle measure and we classified it. 45 degrees, acute scalene triangle. And again, because we didn't have expressions in here like x minus 6 or 3x or anything like that, since we didn't have expressions, we could just take our calculator and say 180 minus 61 minus 74 equals, and it would give us 45. Try number 2. Find the missing angle measure and then classify it by its angles and by its sides. You can use an equation, or you can just subtract the 2 you know from 180 to get the one you don't know. Matter of fact, I would suggest you just subtract from 180 to save time until we get some that have expressions. Okay, on number 2, if I'd done an equation, it'd be x plus 60 equals 180. Well, let's just subtract 60 and 60 from 180 to get the missing angle measure, or I know instantly this is an acute equilateral triangle, and the difference is going to be 60. But 60 plus 60 is 120. 180 minus 120 is 60, and it is an acute equilateral triangle. Try number 3. Find the missing angle measure and also classify it by its angles and by its sides. Okay, so you could say 180 minus 90 minus 45 equals 45 to find the missing angle measure. Or if you understand triangles, you could have done it a different way. I see I have two sides the same, and I know the two angles across from those two sides are going to be the same as well. So if across from this 8 is 45, then across from this 8 has to be 45. I have a right angle, which makes it a right triangle, and I have two sides the same, and I also have two angles the same. That makes it isosceles. So the answer is 45 degrees, and it is a right isosceles triangle. We're going to do 6 more of these, and I'm not going to do an equation on any of them. We'll save the equations for when we have expressions and have to use them. I'm just going to subtract the two angles I know from 180 to get the angle I don't know. Also classify them by their angles and their sides. So try number 6. On number 6, 180 minus 53 minus 50 is 77. Those are all acute angles, so that makes it an acute triangle. All the angles are different, which means all the sides are different. So that is an acute scalene triangle. Try number 7. On number 7, 180 minus 120 minus 30 equals 30. Your missing angle measure is 30. I have an obtuse angle, 120 degrees, so that makes it obtuse. I have two sides the same. I know that because the tick marks are the same. I also found that both of them are 30 degrees. And I knew they were 30 without subtracting from 180 because I have an isosceles triangle. Two sides are the same. So the angles across from those sides are also going to be the same. Try number 8. On number 8, the missing angle measure is 60. You have an acute equilateral triangle. Try number 9. On number 9, 180 minus 90 minus 15 is 75. You have a right angle, so it's a right triangle. All angles are different, so all sides are different. That is a right scalene triangle. Try number 10. On number 10, 180 minus 120 minus 23 equals 37. You have an obtuse angle, so it's an obtuse triangle. All angles are different, so all sides are different. You have an obtuse scalene triangle. Try number 11. On number 11, in my head, I kind of add up 55 and 55 and get 110, and then 180 minus 110 is 70. Or you could have put 180 minus 55 in your calculator to get 70. You have two angles the same. You have two sides the same. So it's isosceles, and all your angles are acute, so it's an acute isosceles triangle. Number 29, try to think, is this a scalene triangle, an isosceles triangle, or an equilateral triangle? It is isosceles. I have two angles the same here and here, so that means I have two sides the same. Now let's find the missing angle measure and then classify it completely. I'm going to give you a moment to see if you can do it your first. Try to find the measure of the angles. Okay, so we have to use an equation. So add up all three angles, set them equal to 180. 2x plus 1x plus 1x is 4x. Divide both sides by 4. Now I need to see what 180 divided by 4 is. 180 divided by 4 is 45 degrees. So this angle is 45, this angle is 45, and this angle 2 times 45 is 90. So this is a 90, 45, 45 triangle. That makes it a right isosceles triangle. 45, 45, 90, and it is a right isosceles triangle. Try number 3. Try to find first x using an equation, then find all the angle measures, and then classify it. Try number 30. So because we have expressions, we have to use an equation. So I add up all three angles, set them equal to 180. X plus x is 2x, negative 2 plus 72 is 70. Isolate the variable by subtracting 70 and dividing by 2, and I get x equals 55. So if x equals 55, then this angle here is 55 degrees. This angle, x minus 2, 55 minus 2 is 53 degrees. And this angle, we already know is 72 degrees. So the angle measures are 53 degrees, 55 degrees, 72 degrees. So what kind of triangle does that make it when we classify it by its angles and by its sides? All three angles are acute, and they're all different. So that would be an acute scalene triangle. Last one, try number 31. See if you can find x, then find all the angles, and then classify it by its angles and its sides. Number 31. So I have added up all three angles, 3x, 4x, and 13x, and set them equal to 180, which is what all triangles are. Combine like terms, 3 plus 4 plus 13 is 20x. Isolate the variable by dividing both sides by 20. You get x equals 9. None of the angles are just x, so I got to do a little work to find all the angle measurements. One is 3 times x, so 3 times 9 is 27. One is 4 times x, so 4 times 9 is 36. And the other is 13x, so 13 times 9 is 117. And you could take your calculator and add these three up to make sure they give you 180. They do. So if these are your three angle measurements, then that makes this an obtuse scalene triangle. It has one obtuse angle, and all three angle measurements are different, so all three side measurements were different, so that makes it scalene. I knew it was scalene as soon as I saw it, because I know 3x, 4x, and 13x are going to be three different angle measures. However, well, and also I knew it was obtuse just by looking at the picture. I could tell that was obtuse. So I could look at the picture and tell it was an obtuse scalene triangle, but I had to do a little work to find the missing angle measures. Okay, we just have two more slightly easier ones. They are multiple choice. Think about how you would answer number 40, A, B, C, or D. Subtract 60 from 105, that would do no good. Add 180 to 105, that'd give us more than 180 degrees. That's impossible. Add 45 to 105, no. Subtract 105 from 80. So they assume that you added 60 plus 45 first to get 105, then you could subtract that from 180. So the answer is D. Or you could have just said 180 minus 60 minus 45 equals, and it would have also given you the right answer. Think about how you would answer number 41. Okay. I have two angles the same, two sides the same, so it's isosceles. I know this is acute, I know this is acute, and that looks acute, three acute angles, so that would make it F, an acute isosceles triangle. Thank you.